YouTube, you're not gonna believe the stretch on this TW200 chain after 1 week of riding. 1 week. Check this out. Can you see that? Look at this. I tightened this chain last week. 1 day on dirt, and it did that. All right, so we're with the 2010 TW200 purchased off Craigslist about a month ago, 4 weeks ago. And I tightened up that chain exactly 8 days ago. Only rode it on the road. It's had 3 days on the road and 1 day on dirt, which was probably about 45 miles of Colorado trails, including some stream crossings. Yep.
Oh, you fucking soaked me.
And that chain stretched out a lot. We're also finding some differences between the Facebook Marketplace 2005 TW200, because one thing we realized riding this weekend, this one's just not getting the same gas mileage. The 2010, the white one's getting, I think we got 81, 82 miles per gallon, while this one got 66, 67. And we noticed riding off-road the other day, that is a 55 tooth rear sprocket. And today, I adjusted these chains at the same time, and this one is still sitting perfect. And I noticed that is a sealed chain. Yeah, you can see it in there. It's got O-rings. While the 2010 over here, this is probably the original equipment standard chain, metal on metal, no seal. And the sprockets, I looked at the front sprockets and it's pretty worn out. I pulled on it. You can just start to see it'll lift off, and I can just see some space here on the teeth. So this chain is clapped out. This is probably the original at 4,500 miles. So I ordered a DID 428 X-ring chain. I got a Yamaha OEM. I'm going to stay with the 55 on the back and 14 on the front. I don't know what the front is over there, but I'm assuming it's a 14. Just the back got increased to a 55. Actually, I also figured out I was using the wrong lube. All right, so nothing against Lucas Oil, but I've been using their motorcycle chain lube, which is a wet oil lube. That's not the right stuff for riding off-road on dusty, dirty Colorado, mostly dry trails. I mean, we had a couple stream crossings and some wet little seeps, but we're riding primarily in dusty, dirty conditions. And that just picks up and holds dirt that blows up onto it and turns it into sandpaper, eroding this even faster. So I've got the wrong one, and I should know that because racing bicycles all these years, we use wax-based chains. They don't pick up the dirt on those lightweight bicycling chains. So I wasn't really thinking about it on a motorcycle. It doesn't really matter on the sealed one because that's got the grease inside each roller, sealed in by the O-rings or X-rings. But on this one, it's huge. His parts are ordered on this one. We're gonna switch it to an X-ring DID chain and new sprockets. So those will be here probably by next weekend, but I know we wanna ride this week. So I am going to readjust this chain, get it back out so it's tight, doesn't have that much slack in it, and then I'm gonna strip it down and we're gonna put some good wax-based dirt road lube on there to make it through the next, week to 10 days until I get this replaced. All right, this is what I bought. I went to, got the Mo Tool. I know they make great car oils. Anyway, I got the chain cleaner, the chain lube. It's the off-road kit with a brush to clean the chain. But I'm probably on this one going to save this cleaner for future use. And I'm just going to douse this one in WD-40 and use the cheap shit. Let's just get it cleaned up and let's see if we can get 7 to 10 more days out of it. But I'm going to remove the chain guards right now. It's two 10mm bolts on the lower one and two 8s or 3 8s. I think it's just two. 1, 2 right there on the upper chain guard. So I'm going to get those off. And then we're going to loosen up this axle, slide that back, tighten it up, clean it up with a bunch of WD-40. Super simple, removing those two chain guards, Look how much more access we have to chain on this moto. That's the way to do it. I'm also going to point this out. This is the way it came. I'm assuming a rock got in here somehow and kicked up and popped this case housing, and it's not separate on the front sprocket, the drive sprocket. I did order a new seal kit because this entire thing has to come off to change that sprocket, which should be a 14 when they're stock. So I bought a new main seal for the case cover and then 2 O-rings. One goes on here and another one goes internal. So I got a big O-ring and a small O-ring and the big seal. But that means an oil change, oil filter is going to happen. We're going to do all that at the same time because you got to drain it first. And then you get access in there to the 14-tooth drive sprocket. All right, I'm kind of curious where our snails are going to end up because I actually moved them to 7.1 or, 7 plus the next slot. I did that last week. What is that? That is 10 days later, right? So about 4 rides. All right, YouTube, you're just going to have to take my word for it, but both sides are on set. I just clicked it one more, so 7, 1, 2. And that is much improved. That works for me. We are just going to tighten it right here. I'm not going to go over tight because I'm expecting to keep stretching. Again, I just wanted to make it 1 more week, maybe 10 more days, so I can get the new chain, sprockets, and everything put on here. Let's tighten down that axle bolt with it. Make sure it stays on 7 plus the 2 spots on the snails. And then I can clean this chain. So here's what she looks like. That's still quite a bit, but it definitely tightened up this back a little bit. I'm not seeing space opening up. There's our quick link when we go to take this off, but let's just strip this down with WD-40. Oh yeah, I forgot how fun gross dirty chains are. I'm gonna convince my buddies over at Gates Belt Drive here, based in Denver. This winter, I want to pull the rear wheel off, take off the rear swing arm, because this is my bolt for my rear swing arm, and that's where my sprocket's at. So I need to get the belt around there, but I want to get a front cog, rear sprocket, and a Gates belt drive on here. I don't have to do this anymore. That's the plan for the winter. What do you guys think of that? Yeah, comment down below. What do you think? By the way, right over there. It's right there somewhere. Hit subscribe. All right, that's starting to look better. I'm just using this muck brush and then an old washcloth. But you can see now I cleaned this off the sprocket. Look at that. This one's faded back. They're not the same angle. So that's the correct angle on the front, but they're kind of leaning that way a little bit. They've dug themselves out. This is a clapped out rear sprocket. And remember, this one wears out at a slower rate than that one does, and you can just see it in there. I looked in there yesterday and I was like, oh yeah, that thing's original. Everybody says they replace these twice as often as they replace these, but when you replace the chain, you should do the whole set. All right, just a quick after. That was cleaned up pretty good. I had it wiped off. I mean, obviously it had some old residues on it, definitely some waxy residues for before we started riding it 4 weeks ago. All I did was run it, spin it with the air compressor blowing down on it right there, and you can see all the crap that blew out between the links. Yep, let me clean that up and we'll try it again. All right, that's what it looked like before I did the air spray, and listen, you can hear it popping and cracking inside there. Those teeth are worn out. All right, that's way better. It was completely black before, so much less is coming out. So let me clean this up again. That is officially the cleanest that chain has been since I have owned this bike for 4 weeks. So let's get the Motul wax on there. All right, quick update. I got, just to show you, it is the off-road chain lube, which is a wax base. So should dry non-sticky. Still can hear it clocking out in there. That thing is old. I wiped off the excess on the outside links, the outside faces, because that's irrelevant. We really want to worry about what is inside on the sprocket side, on the rollers, and the where the pins go through the rollers, and then where the plates meet. On the inside edges, we don't really care about the rivets on the outside. Quick update. Look how good that... Ooh, it's getting quieter as it's drying. Anyway, I cleaned this up with some WD-40 and just rubbed off all the old waxy buildup. It had tons of goobered wax on this area up here in the front. So I'm going to ride it for the next week till the new parts get here, and we'll do an update. So here's where it is. You can see it on the back of the protector sitting here. Yeah, a little over 1 inch, but less than 2. So that's within spec. We can ride this. Got the white 2010 sitting up there, letting it dry. It's still a little tacky. But now I got the black one on here. Obviously this had the sealed chain. Can you see that right there? That's a 55. So this is an aftermarket 55 tooth chain ring. I'm assuming we still have a 14 in there, but this has been upgraded to a much better chain. Yeah, I'm gonna take this off and we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna clean the wet lube off of the outside. Obviously it's sealed on the inside. All right, got the guards off and I put a cardboard behind it to keep it off the wheel this time. Since this is a keeper chain, this one is not overly stretching from the rides we did last week. Much better chain, much newer, obviously. I'm gonna use the Motul chain care cleaner. I'm not sure if that's gonna focus or not, but right there, that is a DID Japan. This is a 428V. This is I think this is a X-ring chain. This is a very, very nice chain. Glad we caught this before we caused problems with the wet lube on there. Obviously the rollers and the pins are sealed from the inside with grease already in there, but just getting this wet lube street oil on the outside is gonna wear eventually. Someone spent some bucks on this. That is a JT sprocket. It is carbon steel, C45 certified right there. Yeah, they spent some bucks on that, although they didn't get the little tie down lock foldy things, that tabs that you fold the tabs over and lock the bolts so they can't spin out. So that's kind of interesting. But if this winter, I mean, they should be fine, but if this winter goes as planned, this thing gets switched out to a belt drive. Are the comments blowing up on that? That's all back together, nice and cleaned up. Got all the wax residues off of it. Listen to this one. Oh, that's way better. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna ride them for a week till the parts come in and we'll replace that one. I'll show you how much it stretches in a week. I guarantee it's gonna continue stretching because that thing is clapped out. All right, YouTube, quick update. Took Hot Mamacita on about 85 mile ride last night, all roads. But we made it all the way up to Carter Lake. But check it out, there is our chain. Let's see how much stretch we got. That stayed about the same and it is still dirty coming out of the inside of there, but that's way better than it used to be. All right, a little bit of research. I got parts arriving today and tomorrow to get this bike finished. I got my chain. So the new chain, the X-Ring chain by DID, is a 428VX, and that's all they make anymore for a sealed chain. The 2005 has the 55 tooth rear sprocket, so it's got more torque, geared a little bit lower. And it has a 428V chain spec. From what I saw online, they stopped making that in like 2012, 2013, although you can still find them available, new overstock for sale. So that is a sealed chain, but it is the older style, O-ring style, not stretching out. It's pretty much staying pretty tight. So this one's going to be the VX. That's all they sell now. I am working on it today to show you this. This bike came with aftermarket turn signals, and they fire very rapidly. That's too fast. So it's got the original relay on it, which is this piece right here since 2001. So this comes off, it's just on there with a rubber grommet, and it should be plug and play for 17 bucks at Cycle Gear. I was able to get this LED turn signal relay for Yamaha. Should be plug and play. Should plug right in, and it right now it's saying, hey, there's not enough draw on the circuitry. The relay thinks that a bulb is out, like an incandescent bulb. So it's giving you that high speed flash to tell you, hey, bulb's out, but we have LEDs, very low draw. So this removes that. All right, well, the replacement doesn't have the rubber grommet on the back, so I'm gonna have to figure out how I wanna mount it in here so it'll mount to that little plate. I'll just have to drill a hole through the plate, put a little screw through there. But proof of concept, just make sure this thing actually works. I'm not gonna ride it like that, but let's just fire the bike up and let's hit a turn signal. Oh, look at that. Nice and slow. That is perfect. All right, I found some bolts in my old extra collection here. I got a little flange with a lock grip, washer, and this bolt even has a little Loctite on it. They fit together. This is an 8mm head and a 10, and I just drilled a hole. Let me show you in the mount. There it is. I just made a mark, kind of dead center, a little bit off, but it will work, and I'm going to mount it upside down so it just stays away from this and the shock. The shock doesn't move, right? It just gets squished. All right, not a bad little installation. It's just kind of sitting there. I don't know where I got these rubber washers, but they're bigger than I need, but it works perfect. It'll keep it off the frame where it vibrates so bad it'll just absorb some shocks. And then I ran the wire up and around the back. I'm gonna just wrap protect these wires. And I think instead of running all these zip tied on this side of the frame, I'm gonna tuck them all in on the back side like that, underneath the cover. There's my final install. I did run one around the top of the white cap and got it nice and tight. Ran the wires on the inside of the frame so they're underneath the cover. Well, so much for my simple $17 repair, because apparently when I was cranking that thing down tight to get this rubber grommet to hold it, I just split the hell out of it. That thing is really cheap plastic. Just cracked the crap out of it. So that wasn't gonna last. All of this because I just wanted to disconnect it and run the wires on the backside. I don't want them on this outside edge. Wanted them on the inside of the frame. So let me figure out what I can do. Maybe I'll zip tie it to this. We'll figure it out. All right, new plan. I think it's gonna be even better. I just had to trim a little bit of this toolbox insert right there where that hole is to get the plastic nub to fit through. Just got it to wedge. I'm gonna set the connector behind it and then mount this flush because I still have these zip tie crank downs. So I'm gonna set it like that. And it'll be inside the toolbox. The toolkit can sit right here. I just need a little hole over here for a zip tie to go through, loop around the box, and lock it in on those little tabs. That's what we're gonna do. All right, as of now, I'm kind of glad it broke because that is a much better spot. It sits above the toolbox, just sits in here. This will all fit in right underneath it. Perfection. And I can run the wires and protect them on the back side of the frame again. So if it falls over, nothing's getting broken. Tool pouch still fits right below it, sitting right there. Cover still fits, perfect. And normal blink rate. Yay! Loving it. There it is. Little LED cat eyes, whatever they are. Arrow pointers. I'm not sure what they are, but they're kind of cool. Came with the bike. It's not a bad side project, just waiting for some parts to show up. All right, YouTube, we're back at it. I got my new chain, the VX. I got a spark plug, oil filter, new 50-tooth rear. I forgot to order the lock tabs, so we'll have to Loctite that. 14-tooth front sprocket. I got the seal for the side cover and 2 internal O-rings. Hopefully I got everything I need. Let's drain some oil and do an oil change real quick because that cover's got to come off. Super simple. 19mm bolt and out she comes. Draining slow. It doesn't look that bad. This oil, when I first got the bike, if you recall in the first video I ever shot, it looked brand new through the little side glass. So doesn't need the oil change yet, but we're doing it because that cover's got to come off to get access to that sprocket. All right, while I'm waiting for that oil to drain out, I just pulled off the foot peg, 17mm bolt and a 10mm bolt just to loosen up the gear shift lever. It comes off the shaft. We should be able to get access to all of these now. Nice and easy. They're all 8mm. I went ahead and pulled the seat off because I do want to get the date codes and manufacture on that battery. But I need to, there's wires coming out of this crankcase cover that run up underneath this. I want to disconnect those so I can get this completely off because I might look at patching this with some JB weld from the back side. So, yeah, I need to get those wires. They come up into this loom, so I'm going to remove this real quick just to make sure I get the right ones disconnected. And I'm pretty sure that was a complete waste of time because these 2 wires coming up are running under here, right across the top of the air box, pinched in there, and they're held in by this rubber grommet. There's no way those are coming out unless I'm taking out the air box entirely again, and I don't want to do that. I've done that once before on the other bike, so let's not go there. All right, we still got a slow drip of oil coming out. I already pulled the oil screen and the spring out. It's sitting there slow dripping. All 9 bolts are out. I did stick them in a row, and you can see there are 2 that are longer. Those are all 8mm bolts. 2 of them are longer, and I stuck them in the order. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is how I did it. So the second one and the 8th one were the 2 longer ones, right where my finger and my thumb are sitting. All the others are small, so it could pop off. But before I pry that off of there, I think I'm gonna go to the other side and do the I'll do the oil filter real quick, and I'll do the spark plug. All right, I'm glad I'm doing the oil filter, people. Hey, quick thing. Torque wrenches are your best friends. Those were way too tight. That oil had been changed, but this oil filter had not. Look at that. That thing was stuck in there. I had to really work to get it to come off. Oh, even worse. Look at that. Yuck. Plus, these new ones are so cute. All right, this part goes to the outside. This part with all the perforated holes goes to the inside, or you will starve your engine of oil, and it just pops in there. It can only sit in one spot. All right, I looked it up. These are supposed to be 10 Newton meters. That's not really that tight. That's pretty light. And then this one is a drain plug with an O-ring, so it's just a 5mm. I don't have a 5mm for my 3/8 torque wrench, so I'm breaking my own rules. I just went nice and snug, but not any more than what I was doing on these. Just pulled the spark plug. Check it out. It looks pretty good. Not as rich as the other one that I replaced. Let's see. What brand is it? It is an NGK. DR8EIX. That's not the right one. It's supposed to be a DR8EA, not IX. So that's interesting. What is an IX? Iridium. All right, well, I just Googled it on the AI, and apparently it's just fine. So this is an upgrade. So the Iridium just has a same specs, everything. It's just Iridium, and it's supposed to have a little bit cleaner burn and longer life than the regular NGK DR8EA. So we're just going to go back to stock. It should be totally okay. Pretty happy with the way that looks. That looks pretty normal to me. Spark plug is in at 17.5 Newton meters. Click. It is on. That always freaks me out, tightening up spark plugs, because they have that hollow, squishy washer seal there, and as you start to tighten it in, it just hits that point where it starts bending that together, making that thing compress, and it just feels like it's stripping. It always freaks me out, just that little 3/4 of a turn where it's just compressing that ring. Ooh, I don't like that. All right, back to the task at hand and the messy side. Let's get this plate off. This cover off. I just got to pry it. All the bolts are off. It's pretty much done dripping, so hopefully we don't make a terrible, huge mess. Quick correction. There are 10 bolts, not 9. There is a bolt dead center right there. I started prying on the pry point. I could see it opening, but just not wanting to move, so I started looking closer with my flashlight. Right there where my finger's at in the shadow is another bolt. All right, I searched everywhere. My little 1/4-inch drive set didn't have an 8mm. It went from a 6 to a 10. But in the emergency packet tool set I have in Ragnar, the V70, I had an 8. So I was able to find something that would work. So this should come off now that I get this off. Thank God I didn't crack it or break it. And just like magic, it came off in my hands, and that's where our electricity comes from. I think it's called a stator, if I remember right. Wires coming into that. Yeah, so it's just creating its own electricity from the power of the engine. Piece of cake, right? Got a little flywheel sitting there. There's our sprocket. I just got to figure out how I'm going to support this, because I didn't really figure out how to get the wires out of there. So for now, so I don't have to continuously hold that in my hand and I can drip some oil out of it, I did just slide it back on there, reoriented nice and carefully, and the magnet pulled itself in. I do think this goes right here on this gear. This thing is movable. It fell out, but I'll make sure I get that in the right place when it goes back together. For the time being, I might have to figure out how to get these wires out so I can get this done properly. But for the time being, we're going to focus right here. Let's get this sprocket off. Just for grins, this thing has less than 120 miles on it, 2 road rides. Look how much slack we now have. Remember I tightened that up at the beginning of this video? This chain is toast. I saw this online too. The front sprocket does rock just a wee bit. All right, I think I got lucky. I just slid that on, didn't even have the bolt on it. I cleaned up the splines just so I wouldn't strip anything. And those popped free. They're not that tight. Whew! Little lock ring holding it all together. Let me pop this apart. I'll catch you back up on the flip side. Ooh, that's clever. So it locks in like that on the splines, but to get this lock ring off, you gotta rotate it so the splines come through. See that? Nice and easy. And then the drive sprocket just slides off. Oh yeah, those are dug out. Let's go compare that to the brand new one. That is nasty. All right, well, I cleaned it up a little bit. That's the first I've been able to confirm that it is the stock gearing. That is the 14 on the front, the old one. I'm lining these up so you can see how much wear. So the brand new one is on the bottom, and you can see these front edges of each tooth, or, you know, the trailing lead, because the chain is sitting and it's rotating this direction. So this side of the tooth is taking all the force. This side right here, where my fingernail's at, is not taking the force. So it's got the right shape, but do you see the difference? The original ones, the brand new ones on the back, look at that. That is way worn into the backside of this tooth. It's starting to shark fin it. You can see that versus uniform. So we'll get that replaced. Piece of cake. I'm going to clean things up in there since I got access to it. It's very greasy. This is a 93823-1419 Yamaha 14-tooth drive sprocket. All right, so I did not need to remove the entire airbox like the other bike. I just removed the bolt here, 2 bolts on this side. 1, 2, was able to get enough wiggle room that I could get all the wires to slide around that little rubber grommet right there and pull these 2 sets through. So now this will just pop off the magnet. There it is. Oh yeah. Now I can get this all cleaned up because that is gross. All right, that's looking better. So I'm just cleaning up this outside of, it's sitting outside of the oil seals here. So I'm not cleaning this part, I'm cleaning this output drive shaft area where the chain is coming through. So all those years of old debris and grease just splattered everywhere, trying to get that out. And yeah, I can put my drive sprocket back on there. Also, I need to clean this thick metallic oil residue off the inside of the flywheel where the stator is running, or where the flywheel's spinning around the stator. The stator stays stationary to create electricity. So this all needs to be cleaned. It'll make it work much better. It's just 4,700 miles of goop and residue. That's much better. Much, much better. Which one's metallic or magnetic? The inside edge is magnetic. Get that cleaned off. It'll make much more electricity. So I just want to show you what I'm seeing here. I couldn't figure out inside this the bearing that sits on the back side of the output shaft. So the very outermost of it. So the output shaft is on the sprocket right there, and it's spinning on this bearing. And I kept seeing oil on the other side. I'm like, where is it coming from? I keep tucking it down in there and cleaning it. Well, it's definitely had oil in there. Where's it coming from? And then I realized right here on the inside where it's in the oil bath, there's a little dimple with a hole and this little elevated little channel. It comes back through because this is sitting outside of the oil bath. Oil bath is in here. This is outside on the output shaft and a sprocket, so it's outside of the seals. But there's a little bit of oil that can come through and get onto the back of this. And this would be the bottom. So I'm assuming that there must be an inlet and an exit. So it can just kind of bathe its way into oil in there. We are just putting grease on the seals, on the edges of the seals. So the outer one fitting under the casing and then the inner one fitting under the shaft. That makes a lot more sense because it has oil bath on the inside, just kind of working its way through. All right, well, I have it up here on the bench now, and I got to clean up all these. I got to get a little bit, I got to razor blade the last remnants of the seal off of there, and I need to get this entire sealing surface perfectly clean. But after scraping out a lot of oily goop out of here on the top side of where the chain is coming in this way, because remember it mounts, actually that's the bottom. The top is bottom. So this is where it's dripping all the new chain lube and it's just collecting oil and then just years and years of sediment. So that was kind of nasty. This is the top side. So remember we had this situation where it's got a crack and you can see through it. You can now see what happened because I've scraped off the dirt. So the chain is being driven in a rotation this way, coming from the wheel on the top, and you can see the indentation of the chain links. So something picked up a stick, a log, a rock between the sprocket here and the chain as it came through and lifted the chain up and jammed it and broke that right there. So I'm going to leave it for now because again, this is all outside the oil bath, except for this little inside on the bearing. I'm going to leave it for now, and we'll worry about that as a project for next winter. And because this is like a $300 part, this entire case. I wish, like a lot of dirt bikes, that this segment was separate from this segment. That would make life a lot easier because you could just replace this and only have to take this off to do this whole project. So it's kind of odd that it's more like a street bike where it's all one piece rather than a dirt bike. I did buy I pulled the rubber seals off these plastic caps on the left side cover. 2 of these, so just replacing those real quick before I flip this all over and get it all cleaned up. Got the shaft, the output shaft, outboard bearing cap back on place. Got those tight, man, those, remember these are JIS, don't use a Phillips or you will strip those and have to buy some more bolts. I bet those are probably $8 to $10 a piece. Need to put a little RTV right here where the wires come inside of the crankcase, and then press the new gasket material. It is all sitting right there. It's got some little metal liner there. Looks like it goes around the top here, top edge. All right, because we are using a little bit of gray silicone on here, we need to make sure that we wait 24 hours before we operate it, because technically it needs to cure once it's pressed together. So it's not an emergency rush, but I just need to make sure the other side is clean and ready to reinsert this. I do have the 2 slugs right there. They help hold that in place. All right, I'm all cleaned up on this side. I have the little bushing, the little slide metal cog bushing, whatever that is, set back in there. Right here is where the wires are going to come across from the inside of the stator to the outside of the seal, and they're going to go right out that little gap right there around the back of that screw. So I just got to make sure this is where that silicone, the silicone RTV sits. So everything's cleaned up with brake clean and just air dried. It's ready to go back together. All right, that was just a test fit, right? Because I got it all into place and realized I never put the sprocket on there. Take a guess what these 2 little 8mm lock ring bolts are for the drive sprocket. Take a guess. Well, how many Newton meters? 1, 2, 3, 4 Newton meters. I had to break out the fancy carbon frame mountain bike, road bike set to get down that low with any accuracy. 4 Newton. That's even low on this one because it only goes down to 0 technically, but 0, 2, 4. And I know what you're thinking. You're saying put the chain on now, which would be the proper way to do it. But I'm waiting on a chain braking tool because I only have bicycle ones. So I need one for a motorcycle. Amazon's supposed to deliver it today, so I want to get this sealed back shut so I can continue working on the back. I know I can feed that through here with this, put this in neutral. I did hit all of them with a little bit of Loctite. All right, I just went and looked at my book and it says tighten them in a crisscross pattern evenly. Doesn't tell me how much torque, so I looked it up. It's supposed to be 7 Newton meters, so we'll use the fancy bike race one. And just so you know, the long ones, this one and the one directly below it, those are the ones that go through the little spacers, the little guide spacers for the mounting of the seal. So it's all there. Let's just get them up to 7 crisscross. 7 Newton meters all the way around. So I just got to put it back together, throw some oil in here. And yeah, finish the oil job, get all this put back together, and I can feed through. I have access. I can get to the teeth. Just get that into neutral. I'll be able to spin that and get that on there nice and secure. Not easy, but it's doable. I'm going to run these back up to the top, run them back through, get all this connected, get the information off that battery real quick because I don't know who made it. All right, quickly before I do this, my battery looks to be made in 2026, March 9th, 2026, and it is a Power Sport. I've got it all back together on this side except for the foot peg and the gear shift lever. I'm going to leave those off as a reminder that there is no oil in it, even though I put the oil cap drain plug back on at 43 Newton meters. Up in the air, let's pull that rear wheel off. It's just like tensioning the chain, except I just need to totally remove the axle bolt out of it and pull off the brake completely. So pull the little dowel out of here, undo the wing nut for the adjuster, and then take this bolt completely off, pop the axle out, and this thing should slide out the back. I just don't know if I have the clearance down here on my little floor stand to be able to pull this off. I might be having to jack this thing up in the air more. Shazam! It's out! That's how I'm going to work on it. Just stuck it on top of the dumpster. I'm going to clean that wheel up entirely with brake clean and get all the old grease off of it. Spokes are nasty. But right now, let's just get rid of this. Just a little screwdriver and some persuasion. You can bend these tabs off the bolts. They're 14s, I believe. I don't have these. I'll worry about that this winter. I'll replace those. 3 of them on this bike. And the other thing I noticed is this bike doesn't have any. Yep, they took them off. So we'll just Loctite them. They are nylon lock bolts on the back side. So we'll put some Loctite on there with them. All right, learn from my mistakes, people. Don't put it over the trash can except to clean it once you have all of that off, because you're going to lose the first washer on the back side. Then you're going to have to pull everything out looking for a black washer in the depths of black. Luckily I found it. All the others I learned from my mistake. I am going to reuse the little wishbone lockers. They're not that bad. Hopefully I can use the other tabs, but I'm going to use them. It's better than nothing. Word of advice, take the time to get it cleaned now. This is the easiest access you're ever going to have to it. All right, well, I got it as good as I can get it. I was able to arrange those so I could spin the things and get them torqued. and use a new tab because there's two different options on the holders. So that took finagling and tuning to get that to work, because when you bend one of the old ones back up, they snap off. So I had to use the side that hadn't been used before. Able to do that, got it back in place, got my drum brake back in there. I still have a little over 3 millimeters, so I don't need to replace the brake pads on the drums yet. Do that this winter, I'll put it on the list. But right now, everything is moved forward on the snails all the way up. Not tightened, it's just sitting there loose because I'm waiting on a big truck from Amazon to drop off a chain breaker. I gotta be honest, I like everything about this motorcycle except for that tail light. That is hideous. That tail light fender reflector, hideous. I'm definitely gonna go to the LED small one that basically puts a little, makes it look more like a motorbike, puts a little LED right up in here, gets rid of the big bulb, moves the license plate up where this is at, and then gets rid of that completely. Ugh. That is hideous. All right, so on the chain, I didn't count that. That chain, the intact segment, it's supposed to be a 230 link chain that came in the box, but that includes the master link. So that right there, that can all contiguous is 100 or 229. So I've counted it like 2 or 3 times. I put a zip tie in it. So I just got to grind it right here. I stuck a Ziploc in it to know what I want to keep. And this is where I, wait a minute. Nope. This is what I want to keep, is this interior link. I want to get rid of that pin right there. Just got to grind that off, and as soon as the Amazon delivery gets here, I'll be able to pop it out. Well, my little Harbor Freight Dremel tool worked surprisingly well, just with a little, I don't know what that is, rotary diamond cutting disc on the front of it. I just ground and ground and ground until I got the rivet head totally gone on the one I want to punch through. Come on, brown truck, I'm running out of side projects. Or Amazon truck. I just flushed my brake fluid, got the old stuff out of there. That wasn't even that bad compared to the other one that was not that bad. So it doesn't take much. Hot Mama C to help me. I just need to get the chain broken apart. All right, filled it up with fresh new Yamaha Lube. And I've bolted this part back together. 60 Newton meters on the foot peg mounting bolt and 10 Newton meters on the little pin. I did use some blue Loctite on this bolt because Hot Mama Cita the other night riding home, we're about a mile from our house, and she has an MSR one. It's a little bit different, but it actually loosened up and fell off. She went to go shift on the last couple corners, and there was nothing there, and she was in 5th gear. Much later, and I'm still waiting on an Amazon truck, just sitting here in a camp chair in the garage, waiting for the truck to pull up with my chain tool. Which reminds me, while we're waiting here, jump down there and hit subscribe. It's right there. Voila, the Amazon man just came and dropped off my whatever the heck that is chain breaker toolkit. I just gotta figure out how to use it. Should be easy. Well, maybe. But I picked the best day to do this because there's no ride today. It's raining. Probably raining tomorrow too. Not gonna lie, that's a little nerve-wracking. Just hoping I'm not ruining a chain. So, yeah, came out as planned. I just got to redo the tool to create the press because it is an interference fit. You have to use the tool to get the faceplate to go on the links. So I got to get that on the bike first. Gonna have to rethread everything because I took it off because this was kind of awkward. All right, well, I did it, and there's just no way to film that in steps so you can see it, but there are 4 X-rings in there. It's all greased in the pin and the roller. And I have the link on there with the chain pulling it on the enclosed side, and the spring side is on the back. So that way, if anything hits it as it's being pulled through in the direction of the rotation, it stays on rather than flying off. Am I confident I did it right? Yeah, but I'm not sure I did it well. One of the things I did note is that the holes, when you go to interference place the plate on, you got to put it like this. The problem is these are too close together for this universal fit. They just don't quite line up right. You can kind of see that it created a little edge in there. But I was able to press it on. All right, kind of interesting because with exactly 122 links, I thought it would be more tight and be like on the 2 or even on the 0 down here on the 1 or wherever it starts. But apparently it's going to start on a 3. So 3 on both sides has this much play in the chain, right at about 1 inch. So I am pretty happy with that. That's way better than what we've been sitting at before. Well, YouTube, I got the chain on. but I can't, the clutch is not working. The clutch lever is actuating. I pull it, it's got resistance, it's working. I didn't mess with anything there, but inside the vertical part of the cam has not lined up correctly, probably because I had to shift it into gear when I had to get the sprocket to hold tight so I could unscrew it. So I gotta take this off again. That means I gotta drain the oil back out. This is not fun. All right, YouTube, I'm back out here with the bike after last night going inside wanting to cry, thinking I had broken everything, and I couldn't figure out. AI kept telling me by doing this sprocket, I had released tension on a push rod that runs through it to go to the other side that actuates the pressure plate on the clutch. And I'm like, that's impossible because this is the clutch mechanism here, right there. Not this shaft, that one, where the clutch pack is on the other side. So they're separate. This is coming off the drive of the transmission. So I think what happened, how I got here, I had it all back together, oil in it, started the bike up just to check the oil level, let it run through, fill the oil filter. It ran perfect. And to check my new chain installation, which looks beautiful, I pulled the clutch and put it into first gear, and the bike died. It lurched and died, and did it again with the clutch pulled. And then I was kind of confused. I should have known when I did this. I put it in first gear and pulled the clutch and tried to start it there, and it wouldn't do anything. It was dead. You want to know why? It's in the wheel stand. Do you see anything? See anything out of place? Maybe this? The kickstand. It's got a kill switch. If the kickstand is down, it won't start. Oh my God. So yeah, the clutch stack is just stuck. I don't know what oil was in it. Could be engine oil, could be something else, and it's just, they're bound together. It's set for 3 days. It just needs to be popped apart, and the engine oil needs to warm up, pop it with the bike in gear, rock it back and forth, get those plates to separate apart, and that would have let it go. And putting it into gear should have done it, but with the kickstand down, it immediately killed it, and it didn't have any power to pop them apart. Oh my God, I feel stupid. So I'm hoping that's what it is. I should be able to shift it into second gear. I never did anything to this actuator and the push rod. Should still be engaged. If I put it into second gear, I should be able to give it some force rotating that back wheel and get those pressure plates to pop apart. That's all it was. I had loosened up all the slack up here, all of it down here to get the cable off, messing with trying to reset the push rod and the actuator. The other side had never been taken off. None of that has been able to move past itself. It is still in place. So it's all just reconnected. It was all properly aligned with the pointer and the line on the case. None of that ever changed. But with all the slack in the cable right now, the clutch is barely activating. When I did do the clutch, it does allow me to turn this with some resistance. Right now, I can't because they are totally bound together. All right, YouTube, let's see if I can do this sitting on the ground. Gonna give it a little bit of clutch. Let me turn the wheel here, get it back straight. Ready? Clutch is in, but it's not fully disengaging the pressure plate because I have too much slack in it. But now I can actually get it to rotate. So they are sliding and sliding past each other a little bit. If I let off the clutch, I can't do that. Clutch is working. I just gotta rebuild the free play in the clutch on the actuator and at the lever, and we should be good. I can pop it free. I'm crossing my fingers that works because I don't want to spend another couple $100 on clutch parts. All right, got oil back in it. New oil, that set out. You can see some stuff floating in it because it was under the engine. I don't know what fell off of there, one of my frustrations last night. So new oil, again, we'll just consider it a flush. Chain is on there, no chain guard yet. Let's start it up and see if I can get it to stay running. What do we say? Let's just do live. Should be good to go. I'm gonna give it a little bit of choke. First détente. Oh, it's gotta be neutral. There it is. It runs. I wonder if I can get that kickstand to go up enough. Ha! Clutch works. Pop them apart by pulling on the clutch and hitting the brake. It's in gear. It should rotate lightly. Perfect. And now with the clutch in, I should be able to make it stop. Oh, they're still grippy. They are definitely grippy. Bit of warming up, and it is idling in first gear, clutch in. I use the brake to stop it, let that clutch out, it starts running. We're perfect. Yay! I didn't break anything last night. AI was telling me I did something on that actuator and push rod, and I'm like, how is that freaking possible? I didn't go anywhere near it. Let me get this put back together. I'll drain this. It's got oil from the old oil filter. I'll get that cleaned off real fast since I got easy access to it before I put the chain guard back on. Button up the hatches. I think I'm going to go for a ride today because it's sunny. All right, she's a runner. Ready to go out, and let's go ride some trail. I think I deserve a little ride after all that stress last night. Oh, I need to adjust the rear brake because that is... I never did anything with it. Yep, let me just tighten that up. Get that set from when I redid the chain. And she's ready to ride. I think I deserve it from all that stress last night. I now know more about a clutch than I ever thought I would ever need to know, and found out it wasn't my clutch at all. It was just stuck. Needed to warm up and vibrate a little bit. All right, that's a wrap. I'm gonna head up there because it's sunny. Be safe out there, YouTube. Have fun. All right, YouTube, 30 miles from home, Netherlands. Gonna go ride West Magnolia and find some fire roads. Everything's working perfect. Machine, it's kicking booty. Absolutely loving it. And the chain is just, I think it's set itself in. Let's give it a look. Oh yeah, just stretched itself out just enough. Actually, I found my way from West Magnolia all the way to Rollinsville Road, which is just at the bottom of that hill. It's kind of steep actually, but it's not too bad. I think I'm gonna play up here a little bit and go down this other 105A. I think it goes down to some ponds and it'll work back into this one at the bottom. All right, that was a fun 73 miles round trip, including about 14 miles up on the Jeep road trails. Can't really ride single track up there because that's for bicycles. But yeah, I raced the storms home, made it home, got the car, hit the car wash, cleaned off my boots. The chain is noticeably quieter. It does seem to have stretched just a wee bit, but it still seemed within spec. Be safe out there, YouTube.